everyone, Phil from Tech for Techs here. Today we've got these two Cougar cases in. We've got the MG120-G and then we've got the MG130-G. The only difference is one's got sort of a clear see-through front, where the other one is sort of a brushed aluminium effect. Otherwise they've both got glass sides and the interiors are exactly the same. They don't come with any RGB lighting, so if you don't want any, a bonus, but if you do, you've got a blank canvas there to add what you want inside. If you are interested in buying these cases, have a look in the description, as we'll have links to them, and obviously if we can find them cheaper than the recommended retail prices, you'll be able to find them below. So let me run you through the basic specifications. They are both mini towers. They take either mini ATX or micro ATX boards, so no full-size ATX, they will not fit. Dimensions on these are basically 21 centimeters by 41.5 centimeters by 40. So you should have plenty of room. It's roughly the same size as you would get most micro cases. It might be a little bit wider than some though. The drive bays, it can take two 3.5 inch drive bays as well as two 2.5 inch bays in there as well. Obviously the 3.5 inch bays do convert to 2.5 inch bays as well, so you could potentially have four 2.5 inch bays. It's got the 4 PCI Express slots down the back. It will take fans on the front, either two 140mm fans or three 120s. On the top, again, it will take either two 140s or two 120s. On the rear, we'll take one 120mm fan. There is one pre-installed, no RGB, pretty basic fan, which is 3 pins, not 4 pins. In theory, you could actually fit up to 6 fans in there, obviously not including what's on, obviously, the power supply, CPU and so forth. Water cooling, yes, you can fit water cooling in there if you wish. The front will take anything from a 120mm, 140, 240 or 280. On the top you can do 240, 140 and 120mm. The max component height on the motherboard is 40mm. And on the rear you can fit a 120. Max graphics card length is 330mm. The CPU cooler height is 17.5 centimeters, so 175mm. Power supply is your standard ATX PS2. The max PSU length is 160mm. And cable management, obviously it has got that on there. Nothing too fancy, but it is there. Okay, let's have a look at the cases themselves. So depending on the one you've either got that brushed aluminium front design, or you've got the see-through front. Obviously, choice is up to you. On the front you have got your power button, so you've got your power, reset, a USB, what looks like 3, standard USB 2, a headphone and a microphone socket. Again, there's no RGB buttons because it doesn't come with RGB. On the top you do have your dust filter there, what goes all the way across, which does peel off because it's a magnetic one, which is good. You can see the glass panel there, so you can see it's held in by 4 screws. It does come off fairly easy. You don't need any tools or anything like that, but just bear in mind there's nothing really holding it on the bottom, so when you take the screws out, watch it doesn't just fall off onto the floor. There isn't really a hinge holding it into place as such, so keep an eye on that. The back is pretty straightforward, as you can see from here. So you've got where your I/O plate will go, you've got your 4 PCI Express slots there, you've got your 120mm fan as well, and then you've got where your power supply goes. Pretty straightforward. And the reverse side is just a plain flat sheet, so there's nothing there to worry about. Ventilation is what's concerning me a little bit on the front. Bear in mind there's plenty on the top and the back, so you should be alright in reality, but along the front the only ventilation is basically down the sides, roughly down here next to the panel, which means that it can't get much airflow coming in. And just to show you that, I can pull it off. There we go. You can see there what it looks like on the inside, and those little strips there is what all the air is going to be coming into. Obviously, because this doesn't have many fans, it'd be unfair for us to really test what it's like out of the box, because it's really designed for you to add your own in. But I would watch how you position things, especially if you're doing something like a radiator. I would recommend putting it across the top rather than the front due to the restricted airflow there. On the front, you can see the control panel. The cabling is all nice. It's all black. I wish some of the other brands would take note of that. A lot of the times are these multicoloured cables which look like a bit of an eyesore. On the bottom of the case, so over here you have got obviously mesh as well to protect it from getting dust in, and that one does basically slide out to the back here like that, which is good. And again, I wish other manufacturers would do that rather than putting one what's fitted on there and then you can't take it out without turning it upside down and having to unplug everything. It just slides out when you need it and slides back in again. Very easy to clean, so that's pretty good. So there's not much else to see really on the outside. Okay, on the inside, when you're taking the screws off, which were very easy to do, you can see straight away it's shrouded across here. You will be able to see like the logo of your power supply if you've got a decent power supply there. You've got two trays for 2.5-inch bays there, so for your solid state drives. Those will actually come out if you wish, and you can position one over here instead and then have a blank and one there, or one there and one there. So it's a choice of having two. Would have been nice to have three altogether, in all honesty, because there is room for it. So you can actually see on the inside the cable management holes. There does seem to be plenty of them on there. Should be absolutely fine. You've got them towards the bottom where the shroud and power supply goes, so it allows you to feed up all your headers what go at the bottom, like your USB, as well as your front panel switches and so forth. It does come pre-installed with one of their own Cougar fans, which is there. It is a 3-pin connection rather than a 4, which is a slight shame, but better than nothing. But to be honest, if they're doing a case like this which has got no fans on the front or anything like that, I'd rather them just not include the one at the back and do it for a quid cheaper or something, in all honesty. And then you can choose your own fan and do what you want with it. The fan, hard to see much information on there. Just made in China, 1.1 watts. But otherwise it just looks like a standard black fan, in all honesty. So the cabling, which you can't really see too much from there, let me just pull it out. So for your front panel, USB 2, USB 3, it's all black cabling, which again, I love this because so many bigger companies, we've seen it from Thermaltake, Cooler Master and so forth, they have the multicoloured ends, especially on the USB 2 or audio basically sockets on here, and it looks a bit of a mess, especially if you're trying to colour code the actual machine. The cabling on this is all black all the way through, all the way up to the control panel at the top. Actually a bonus for this case. We don't generally see that on a lot of cases, even some of the higher end ones. Let's have a look at the back. So on the back of the case you can see here, obviously this is where your power supply will be going. You'll be feeding it in from that side. Probably not a huge amount of room there for your cabling, so make sure you just not got a lot of cabling or cabling what sticks out a lot off of the back of the power supply, because it may get in the way a little bit, especially if you've got a modular power supply, which the cables can be sometimes quite thick on. And then you've got your two hard drive bays here for 3.5-inch. Obviously you can use them for 2.5-inch as well. So that's pretty good, taking the total storage bays up to 4 solid state drives on there, or 2 solid state drives and 2 hard drives. And obviously if you're using M.2 sockets on your motherboard, that adds even more on there. Cabling again, there is plenty of room. There should be enough room there between the back tray and where the case side comes on to put most of your cables without an issue. There are plenty of cable tied in holes. I like how the cabling comes from the front panel, it comes down the side here so it doesn't show inside the case when you're looking through the window, which again we see from a lot of cases. So to be honest with you, there's not a huge amount to complain about on this case. It basically does everything you want. It gives you a nice blank canvas if you are wanting to do any RGB effects on there. It doesn't come with a controller or anything, but obviously you're not going to go get a controller on a case of this value. and obviously it doesn't come with any RGB anyway, so it'd be a bit pointless, but if you wanted to add one in, you could do easily. When you do take the front panel off, get it just pulls off, or you can try and play about with the little clips on the inside. It has got meshing down here as well, so that will help protect it from sucking in lots of dust. So pretty much everywhere is covered from dust, from bottom, front and top, which again is another bonus. Obviously, if you are in a dusty area, I would advise you clean out the dust filters as often as you can, but otherwise that's pretty good. Your fans obviously will attach whichever way you want. You can put them in the back side of the dust filter area, or potentially the front area as well. If you want to take the dust filter off, just a thumb screw there, and then it slides off. So it's very easy to get to, very easy to clean. I think they've actually thought this case out pretty well, especially considering its value as well. Normally you'd be paying a hell of a lot more for a similar case.